Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Thank you. Who was it? Ooh, both of these. Thank you, Kira, for both of these. European political parties, German political
European
parties.
parliaments come in many
The
shapes and
political
sizes.
parties in Germany.
What to do first? Hi, guys. My name's Connor. I like to learn things. Eeny, meeny, miny, miny, mo. Let's do the shorter one first, shall we? European political parties explained, then I'll do the German one in a separate video right after. The original link to the video, top of the description, below that link to the Discord, click on it, send you right over there. Love to have you. Makes it easier for me to see your recommendations and interact with you. Let's go. Let's learn. Or help me learn, or teach me. Let's go. I don't know much about politics, especially international, but no time like the present.
And if you're new to the world of politics, European parliaments come in many shapes and sizes. And if you're new to the world of politics, you likely don't understand what any of those colors mean. This is extra confusing if you're from a system like the United States, where the political spectrum is pretty clear cut between the party that you agree with and the satanic antichrist of hell that is the other side.
Yes, and I freaking hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate both sides. Get out of here. Let's redo the whole thing.
Well, even though every country has their own parties and there's lots and lots of history attached, I'll try my best at generalizing what the 7 main political parties in generic European country X might look like. Okay?
Yep.
Let's meet the team. First up is the Workers' Party. It used to be quite radical in its early years, when, as it says in the name, it was founded to represent the poor oppressed workers in the early years of industrialization.
Sorry, that's my only commie joke. I'm sorry.
And as it says in the name, it was founded to represent the poor oppressed workers in the early years of industrialization. But over time it's turned from street barricade to moderate, making it the dominant force of the center-left. Its main goal is to create a society of solidarity, so it doesn't shy away from redistributing money from the wealthy to the ones in need. But it also likes capitalism, and leaves it to do its good thing so long as normal worker guy here is satisfied. On the center-right we find the People's Party. It likes to think of itself as much more careful and rational than the Workers' Party, listening to both workers and employers. Although we all know who's got the money, am I right? Morally and culturally, it's definitely more conservative, and occasionally has a hard time with change. But while it's also quite conservative when it comes to economic questions, it's not strictly opposed to social programs, as its roots are in the benevolent Christian doctrine. The Liberals. In North America, the term liberal has become almost synonymous with the left wing of politics, which is not the case in large parts of Europe. It's either
When I think of liberal, I obviously think of the left, but I think of the less left, like closer to the center, more. Like when I think of liberals, I think of older Democrats. Does that make sense? Just Democrats who aren't who are kind of a little bit more center on certain fiscal and social issues, but they're definitely still Democratic on the left side of the spectrum.
the original meaning of liberal is just free. Free from taxes, free from the state, free from boundaries.
The government should only be as big as it needs to be. Competition is what drives us, and people should only be rewarded for effort and hard work.
The Liberal Party said.
What? Owning stocks is hard work.
The Greens are pretty self-explanatory.
I press the stop button. If you ever wonder like why, sometimes I press pause to pause the video, but sometimes I don't realize it's gonna pause OBS. And so, yeah, sorry. Okay, Green Party. That's where we are.
For them, fighting climate change is goal numero uno, that means number 1, and they've got just a plan on how to do it. Sure, most other parties have also realized that you can't ignore a burning planet forever, and decided to roll out their own plans. But the Greens were here first, which means their plan's the best. Or is it? Usually they're also pretty big on LGBTQ+ issues and pacifist in their nature. Nature. But just like with all the parties mentioned here, there are large differences between all the Green parties across the continent, ranging from far-left eco-socialists to moderate right-wing ecologists. So before we finally come to the political fringes, we'll have to talk about conservatism again. As it turns out, the People's Party
We're not at the fringes yet?
isn't the only one with a patent on conservatism. Enter the National Conservatives. They are here, and they're tough on crime. They don't particularly like the EU and love to handle things at home, as it should be, because we're... When talking about the left
wanna
in
build a
Europe,
wall.
you have to once again consider that there are loads of different interpretations of what they can mean, and some are more radical than others. Like, some still want to brutally overthrow the current system and establish a socialist society once they're in power, while others just say that their brothers over at the Workers' Party don't go far enough with their demands. In any case, they derive their ideology from anti-capitalist thinkers, which means they usually aim for a very big state, equality through redistribution, and often raise their voice the loudest when the poor are getting poorer. It's just, you know, the fringe. And lastly on our list, I'm sure you've already heard of them, we have the right-wing populists. Ever since the refugee situation following the war in Syria in 2015, they've been gaining in popularity, catching on not only with concerned voters, but also with people who feel broadly disappointed by the other mainstream parties. They're often being accused of fear-mongering, falsification of history, and emotionalizing issues instead of rationalizing them. However, from their point of view, they're just protecting national interests in a dangerous, progressively globalized world, and that's fine, I guess, so long as the fringe doesn't come to get you. And that's our team, the basic profiles of our main political players. Now, of course, in real life, they aren't as clear-cut as I made them out to be. And I could have also touched on regional parties, farmers' parties, commies, literal Nazis, religious parties, minority parties, single-issue parties, joke parties. Okay, I got it! You guys have a lot of parties, cool.
Okay, so this wasn't even the Communist Party.
I could have also touched on regional parties, farmers' parties, commies, literal Nazis, religious parties, minority parties, single-issue parties, joke parties. Okay, I got it! You guys have a lot of parties, cool. But come on, be serious. Aren't they also just one big right wing versus one big left wing? Well, no question mark. Don't get me wrong, the left-right spectrum is important and it's a good indicator for a party's economic policies, but it's not the default line of conflict. Like, if there's one thing you gotta understand about multi-party systems, it's this. There are always more than two sides. Every party has their own plan on everything, be it on environmental protection, abortion, working hours, foreign policy, you name it. And that potentially results in different teams depending on the subject. At the end of the day, they are all competing against one another.
That is a huge plus, in my opinion, and something that America needs to. I hate the two-party system. I hate it. I believe our first president, George Washington, warned against it. I'm not saying he's like God or or anything, but he did warn against it, and I can see why. It's that over here, it's so frustrating because if you have a conversation with someone and they hear you say one point, then they analyzing. Oh, that's a this side point, therefore. Let's say, oh, that's a liberal point or that's a conservative point. Therefore, their entire ideology is liberal or conservative. Let me just pick one for simplicity. Say they say like a conservative talking point, right? And then the person's like, that's conservative. You're conservative. Every one of your beliefs, I already know them. You don't have to tell me. The same goes for the other side. It's like, oh, that's a leftist belief. Now I know your brain. Don't tell me anything. I know you. I hate that. I love that. It's like if you have a big personal issue, right? Or something that you are really going to vote on, and one of the two parties is better at it in your opinion, and you want to vote for that, but if somebody knows you're leaning that way, then they're going to put you as, oh, you believe everything in this bubble of this side of the political spectrum, and it's the most frustrating thing ever. I'm not saying if someone's like, I don't know, and this at least, although like the American thing that came in made the point, oh, it's still left right, at least I can find a party that there are more parties that might be forwarding the thing that I really care about, and so I'm going to go for them. If I really care about the environment, there's a party for that. Although the environment, the Green Party is the one party I sort of am confused why it's a party, because why would you want your party to be named after one thing when other parties aren't necessarily disagreeing with you? but it just makes it look like, okay, why would I vote you in if like your whole shtick is global warming and climate change and environmental protection, that kind of stuff, right? So I don't see how that's a good idea to just, like, let's say there was a I was gonna say like a guns rights party in the USA. What's the USA equivalent? And it's like, and let's say, oh, you're super pro Second Amendment, but it's like, actually, what am I even saying? That's going against. I don't know. I just feel like making yourself branded as a single issue would make people think, well, how do I know you're going, there's more to worry about in the running of a country than just climate change. So that kind of throws me off there a bit. But very interesting. Did I stop it before it ended? I think I did. I think I did.
No, of course, in real life, they aren't as clear.
Well, no, I didn't.
Necessary, but it's noticeably less. That potentially results in different teams depending on the subject. Work sides. Gotta understand party's economic policy. Don't get me wrong, the left-right spectrum is important and it's a good indicator for a party's economic policies, but it's not the default line of conflict. Like, if there's one thing you gotta understand about multi-party systems, it's this. There are always more than two sides.
That is my big wish America would adopt more, is break up the Republican Party, break up the Democratic Party, and just separate it into more parties so that it's not just like going to the polling booth. And I hate going to the polling booth and voting for the person that sucks less rather than voting of like, oh, I'd like him, maybe to win, or her to maybe to win. Really interesting. I find this stuff fascinating. I'm trying to learn. I would love to hear your guys' comments, any answers to any questions I might have had, or if I'd said something just plainly incorrect. I would love to hear what you have to say about it. And I'll see you guys next time. I'm going to watch the Germany video now. Bye, guys.